I want to tell you about the morning my life ended. Not dramatically, not with sirens or screaming, with a phone notification. 3 sentences from a stranger and a photograph I will never be able to unsee. That Tuesday morning had started the way most of my Tuesdays did. Alarm at 6:45, coffee before I was fully awake, the dog, our dog, Milo, pressed warm and heavy against my legs as I sat on the edge of the bed and tried to remember what day it was. Marcus was traveling, again. He was always traveling. International finance, high-pressure clients, time zones that meant calls at midnight and flights before dawn. I had stopped asking for itineraries years ago because the schedule changed so often it was easier to just wait for him to land and text me. He always texted when he landed. That was one of the things I loved about him. Small, consistent things. The 2 a.m. voice memos, the way he learned the name of every barista at my favorite cafe because he knew I talked about them. The anniversary cards that arrived 2 days early because he was always afraid they'd be late. He was so careful. I understand now what that carefulness was really about. But that Tuesday morning, I was just a woman drinking coffee, watching sunlight move across the floor, thinking about a project deadline and whether we needed more olive oil. I was happy. Looking back on that feeling now is like looking at a photograph of a house before it burned down. You can see exactly how beautiful it was, you can see how much it held, and you can see how completely it's gone.
My phone buzzed at 9:12 a.m. Instagram notification, a new DM. The account name was @nadia.rome. No picture, created recently, following no one. Spam, I thought, or someone selling something. I opened it anyway. There were 4 lines. Emily, I'm sorry to contact you this way. I didn't know how else to reach you. My name is Nadia. I am married to Marcus Webb. I think you are too. I stared at the screen, read it again, then again. Then I laughed, the short, involuntary kind of laugh that your body produces when something is so far outside reality that your brain just rejects it entirely. Wrong person, I typed. My husband's name is Marcus, but his last name is Carter, not Webb. She responded in 40 seconds. He uses Carter with you. He uses Webb with me. We've been married for 2 years. He travels for work. He sends voice memos at night. He calls you something, a nickname only he uses, doesn't he? My fingers went cold. M, I thought. He calls me M. What does he call you? I typed. One word came back. Nadie. His nickname for her. My nickname reinvented for someone else. I set my phone face down on the table. I sat very still, and I listened to the sound of everything I believed, all of it, quietly, completely, coming apart. I didn't call Marcus. I know that sounds strange. Most people's first instinct would be to call, to demand an explanation, to let emotion drive the wheel. But something in me went very quiet, deliberate, focused. I had worked in corporate litigation support for 6 years. I knew what evidence looked like. I knew what it felt like when a story had holes in it. And I knew, without fully knowing why I knew, that if I called Marcus right now, I would get a performance, a very good one. So instead, I answered Nadia. Tell me everything. We talked for 3 hours. She was in Rome. It was already evening there. She had been sitting on this information for 11 days. 11 days of trying to find me, trying to decide whether to reach out, talking herself in and out of it. I found your Instagram through his phone, she said. He left it unlocked. There was a photo of you two at a vineyard.
I recognized the label. It's a place near my family's home in Tuscany. He took me there too. Same table, same photograph angle. Same table. I thought about that vineyard trip, how romantic it had felt, how he had pulled me close and said, "I want to remember this forever." He had apparently wanted to remember it twice. I started going through his things while she talked, carefully, methodically, the way you do when you're terrified of what you'll find, but more terrified of not finding it. His desk drawer, the filing box he kept in the back of the closet, the leather travel bag he never let me unpack for him. He keeps a separate phone, Nadia said. Dark case. He probably told you it's for work. I stopped moving. There was a phone in his travel bag. Dark case, slim, fully charged. I had seen it before. He had said it was a client communication device, encrypted, company policy. I had never questioned it. I unlocked it with the same pin he used for everything, our anniversary, a date I now wonder if he'd chosen precisely because it was easy to replicate. It opened. 2 WhatsApp accounts, 2 contact lists, 2 sets of good morning messages, 1 thread to me, 1 thread to her, sent sometimes within minutes of each other. A calendar app with color-coded entries, blue for business, green for me, red for her. 3 years of a life color-coded like a work schedule. I scrolled back as far as the app would let me. The pattern never broke, never faltered. He had maintained it with the precision of someone who was not just lying, but managing. There was even a notes file. Details about us, both of us, things we'd told him, stories, preferences, fears, logged so he wouldn't confuse them, so he wouldn't call her by my nickname, so he wouldn't forget which anniversary was which. He had made notes on the women who loved him. I sat down on the floor of our closet and I did not make a sound. I know I called my sister. I know she came over. I know I sat on the kitchen floor again at some point, which seemed to be where my body chose to process things it couldn't stand up through. I know I ate something. She made me eat something, though I couldn't tell you what it was. What I remember clearly is the conversation I had with Nadia on Thursday night. Her voice was steadier than mine. She had had 11 days on me. She was further along in the grief cycle. Not healed, nowhere near healed, but past the stage where the ground moves under every step. He told me his family was complicated, she said, that he'd grown up moving around, that he didn't have roots anywhere. I thought it made him romantic, a man who had chosen me as his home. I had thought the same thing, word for word almost. That was the part that undid me most, not the betrayal itself, but the sameness of it. The way he had used the same emotional language on both of us, the same vulnerabilities, deployed in the same order, like a script he had rehearsed and perfected. We weren't individuals to him in those moments. We were roles he knew how to play opposite. I went back through 5 years of memories that week. Every trip, every explanation, every night he came home later than expected or left earlier than planned. The math was brutal. He had married Nadia 8 months after we got together, 14 months before he proposed to me, which meant when he went down on one knee in that restaurant, when I cried and said yes and called my mother from the bathroom, he had already been someone else's husband for over a year. He had practiced proposing on her. Marcus came home on a Friday evening. I had spent 4 days preparing for this moment. Not emotionally. I was not going to let emotion run this. I had spent 4 days legally preparing. I had spoken to a divorce attorney. I had made copies of everything. I had sent the copies to my sister's house. I had documented, organized, and built a case the way I had spent years watching lawyers build cases. He was not going to outperform me.
He walked in the door, set his bag down, kissed my cheek. "I missed you," he said, and I looked at him, really looked at him, and I felt something I had not expected: pity. Not for me, for him, for the smallness of a person who needed 2 entire women's love to feel like enough, for the exhaustion it must have been, for the loneliness inside that kind of life that no amount of management could fix. I pitied him, and that was when I knew I was going to be okay. I waited until Saturday morning, daylight, sober, fully awake. I set everything on the dining room table: the second phone, the screenshots of the calendar, the notes file, printed, both pages, his marriage certificate to Nadia, which she had sent me as a PDF, and our marriage certificate placed beside it. He came downstairs in his weekend clothes, easy, relaxed, a man without a single thing on his conscience, or at least a man who had learned to perform that so well it had become his resting state. He saw the table. He stopped on the 3rd step from the bottom. For a long moment he didn't move. I didn't speak first. I let him look, let him take it in, process what was on that table, understand that whatever he was about to say, I already knew more than he thought I did. When he finally spoke, the first thing he said was my name. Not M, Emily. Like formality was a fence he could put up now. Emily. "Don't," I said, quietly. "Don't start with my name. Don't start with an explanation. I don't need one. I have everything." He tried anyway. They always do. He said it started as something small, that he had never intended for it to go this far, that he loved us both. Yes, both, he actually said both, and that he had been trying to figure out how to fix it. "For 3 years," I said. "You were going to figure it out for 3 years?" He went quiet. "Nadia knows," I said. "She found me. We've been talking for a week. We've both spoken to attorneys. We're not competing with each other. We're not fighting over you. We're just done." The word "done" sat in the room like a stone.
He cried. Genuinely, I think. Not performance crying, the kind that comes when a person finally has to face the full weight of what they've done, with no audience to manage and no exit available. I watched it. I didn't move toward him. I didn't move away either. I just watched and felt that pity again, and let it confirm everything I already knew. "I'll leave," he said eventually. "Yes," I said, "you will." It has been 7 months. The divorce was finalized 6 weeks ago. Nadia's annulment, which came with considerably more legal complexity, was finalized around the same time. We still talk, less than we used to, but she is woven into my life now in a way that defies easy explanation. She is not my friend exactly. She is something else, someone who holds a piece of my history that no one else can hold. We met once, in person. Coffee. 3 hours. We laughed more than either of us expected. People ask if I regret the years I gave him. I used to. I don't anymore. Because every single thing I felt during those years was real. He wasn't, but I was. My love was real. My choices were real. My mornings and my laughter and my grief. All of it was real. He gave me a false foundation, yes, but everything I built on top of it, the woman I became, the clarity I found, the friendship I have with Nadia, the attorney who told me I had the most organized discovery file she'd ever seen, all of that is mine. You can't fake your way through someone else's becoming. I kept the dog. I kept the house. I kept myself. And some days the light still comes through the kitchen window soft and golden, and I sit with my coffee and I think, I am still here. I am still real. And that has always been enough.